Welcome to Not a Roofers podcast, where we discuss roofing
without all the jargon. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Charity.
And this is today's episode.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Not a Roofers podcast.
So, when was it? Some time ago, we had an episode about underlayment. And at that point in time, we realized that sometimes there is a good reason to reuse shingles. Like, let's say they get taken off. There's actually only one reason why you would put them back on. But there are a ton of things. There are a ton of things that you can use old shingles for. And we didn't get into it around Earth Day all that much. We did say that shingles could be replaced or could be recycled. So shingles can be recycled, but you can do other things with them. So we'll start with when can you reuse shingles from your roof?
Well, so let's go back to, I recently just helped replace the flashing on my roof. And we did have some leftover shingles from whenever they did put the roof on my house. We had some of those in the shed, but we also reused some of the shingles that were already on the roof. They were already cut to size. They were already there. They're still in good shape. So we just reused some of those and used some of the new ones for that. So that is a case that you're able to reuse the old shingles.
Mm-hmm.
But notice how I said they were still in good shape.
Yep. So really the only reason you would reuse shingles is if you are replacing something underneath the shingles, such as the flashing, the underlayment, or something like that, and the shingles are in good shape. Those are the two things that have to happen. If you were to have like a flow chart of like, is this the case? And you answer yes or no, both things would have to be the case. One, you'd have to be replacing something underneath the shingles, and two, the shingles would have to be in good shape. So.
Yes, because what ends up happening if you're reusing some of those older shingles is that over time they do deteriorate and become worn. And if you reuse those, it then affects your roof's ability to actually protect how it's supposed to.
But just because shingles are getting taken off your roof doesn't mean that they have to go into the landfill. And if you joined us for our Earth Day episodes, you'll know that roofing debris is a big source of waste within landfills every year. But there are some things that you can do if, let's say, you took the shingles off yourself. In Charity's case, where she's working with a professional, they took some shingles off. You had some that weren't good, right?
Mm-hmm.
What can you do with those? Now, if you are working with a contractor, let's say they have a program where they can be recycled, you can do that. And then when they're recycled, they're usually repurposed with the asphalt content within them. They can be reused into concrete for roads and sidewalks. But here are some other things that if you were to take the shingles off your roof, you could use them for. So if they still have some life, let's say your roof has to be completely replaced and you can decide to do it now where there's like maybe a year or two left in your shingles, but you're like, I don't want to risk it. If there is still some life, Habitat for Humanity will take donated shingles if they're in some semblance of usable shape.
And on that topic of if they're still in usable shape, say you have a child who has a playhouse, you could always make a realistic looking roof with those shingles and tack on some of those shingles, and they could have a shingled roof without it actually being shingled, because typically the playhouses have a roof already. It just doesn't have shingles on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if there's some life for whatever reason, you can think about those options, either a playhouse or if you have some like little shed that you want shingles on, or donating them to Habitat for Humanity. Another is asphalt shingles work really well for absorbing oil. As an example, we have a little brother who has a shop where he works on cars and oil is known to be spilled when you're working on cars. If he were to do the roof on his house and have some old shingles, he could keep those and use them to absorb oil spills.
And I'm on this little DIY project train right now. You could put the old shingles, even if they're not in good condition, you could put them on a dollhouse or bird feeders or
Oh,
birdhouse. Like a birdhouse,
birdhouses.
like build a little birdhouse.
Nice. Old shingles can be used as weed blockers in landscaping. If you want to get into the logistics of that, I don't know many logistics. Share to your landscaping right now.
I am landscaping, but that's because I'm redoing some overgrown landscaping that hasn't probably been taken care of in 5+ years. I'm curious though about the landscaping because they used bricks underneath the plants for weed control.
Got it. Well, you can use old shingles for it. You can create a path in your backyard, either through landscaping or just whatever in your front yard. You can use it to create a mat or create a path. You can also use it to create a mat. We'll get to that in a second. But you can use them to create a path instead of maybe getting bricks or tiles or whatever it would be.
So if you get stuck, mainly in I'm going to say winter climates where you get snow. I don't know if you've ever been stuck in the snow, but I have. And you can use a multitude of different things to get unstuck: salt, sand, kitty litter, and asphalt shingles.
You can, back on kind of like the DIY side of it, you can create a welcome mat or something to rub your shoes off on in, say, a mudroom or even outside on a patio. You can use them and put them together and create a mat for that reason. And the last kind of encompasses a lot of things, but you can create art projects. If you are crafty and good at working with materials and you're like, I want to make a sculpture out of shingles, you can do that.
My only thing that I'm going to comment about using shingles in craft projects is just make sure to clean them first. There's a lot of, I'm going to call them pests that walk all over them: raccoons, squirrels, birds. And just clean off the shingles because they have been on your roof. And, well, we all know what animals do. I'm pretty sure you don't want to be touching that.
The reality of it is that there are options besides shingles becoming waste. And this is just, asphalt shingles that we're talking about. We could get into slate shingles.
Oh, slate shingles are so pretty. And have you seen the art crafts you can do with those?
Well, I mean, let's bring up an old memory. Our dad's been in the roofing industry for a while, and I remember at one point in time he brought home some slate that they had taken off of a roof or something.
It was damaged, not useful.
And brought it home, and Mom made chalkboards out of them and gave them to family members for Christmas.
I think we all painted them at one point, though. Slate makes really fun art projects.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did focus on asphalt, but yeah, there are other uses for other types of roofing materials as well. I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. Long story short, there's one reason why you should reuse shingles on your own roof. And there are plenty of ways that shingles can be reused to keep them out of the landfill and give them a second or third or seventh life, really. How many ever lives you want to give them? So, we hope you learned something today. We will be back next time.
Bye.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. If you've been loving what you're hearing, make sure to press the subscribe button so you get notified anytime we post a new episode. Episodes come out on Wednesdays. Please share this podcast with a friend, rate us, or leave a review. All of those help us to reach more listeners so that everybody can join us and learn more about the roofing industry as we go along on this journey. If you don't already follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube, I will put all of our information in the show notes below. Feel free to contact us with any questions or ideas you have and would love for us to talk about on the podcast. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you next time.